Okay. Why does gambling work? Gambling works because if we lose, we seek to equalize it out by winning because we can't accept that we've invested and lost without returns. And if we win, we seek to repeat it. So we never say, yeah, that's good. That's good enough. Where's my book? Okay. By the way, my pen is out of ink, so I've been taking notes on my phone now. Okay. So the last one was balance, courage, and consideration. Now, loyalty. Have you gossiped or disparaged someone behind their back? Make it safe to tell the truth. Are your people as forthcoming with bad news and negative feedback as they are with the inverse, so good news and positive feedback? Interestingly, in social groups, this one is a personal note that I had a thought about while writing this note. I don't even know if this is true, but it seems to be the case for me. So I wrote this. Interestingly, in social groups, men and women, on average, seem to face the opposite issue in this case. Like very generically saying. This is not saying this is the default, but if you just look at the where they fall on the average, one is closer to the one side and one is closer to the other. So, for example, for men are more likely to give negative feedback and less likely to give positive feedback and compliments, and it's the other way around for women on average. Now, that doesn't mean that men don't give compliments and women don't give negative feedback, but I think men just love shit talking each other. Do you feel safe telling the truth to yourself? The exercise is, do you get negative if you sit with undistracted time in your own head? And do you avoid spending that time because of that? Feedback is more the responsibility of the receiver than the giver. So let's say person A gives person B feedback. Person A, you can say person A has a responsibility to give the feedback when he has it, but it's more the responsibility of person B to be someone that person A thinks I should give him the feedback. And also to actually, because one, he thinks that person B will be receptive, won't get upset, won't get defensive, won't get avoidant, won't get angry, and that it'll actually have a net positive in that interaction. Prove that you sincerely want to know what they have to say and their truth. So, for example, what they have to say is not just about what happened. It's about how they view what happened. How what happened was conveyed from their perspective. And if you show that you actually care about their perspective in the event, then they're more likely. You respect their point of view, that you won't interrupt, shoot down, or get defensive. Okay. Next one. You right wrongs. If you break a promise, is it your first instinct to defend yourself and rationalize, minimize, or ignore it? This always happens when I break promises to myself. for example, if I make a promise to not do X and I do X, then my first instinct is to defend myself, rationalize why it's okay, minimize this, how bad it is, or ignore that I did it, for example. And now this is a quote from the book. My experience, so when I say my, I'm talking about the author, is that when most people offer an apology, we do so full of attachments, such as, I'm sorry, but I was feeling under the weather, or but I really felt like I needed to say what I had to say. I'm sorry, but, so you start with I'm sorry, but, or I hope that was okay because I didn't mean to come off that rude. I hope that was okay because I was just really angry at the time, right? So it's like our apologies are full of attachments. Okay. Protect your team against urgencies. And in this case, obviously for me, it would be protect yourself from urgencies. How will you find the courage to keep your team focused on what's more important, including saying no to some of your best ideas? Okay. So the idea is basically, if you focus your time on preventative measures, then you won't be always juggling the urgent matters. This one comes back to Put First Things First by Stephen Covey. So basically, the idea is this. Think about it this way. If you, maybe spend an hour every day, maybe 4 minutes on brushing your teeth, on 30 minutes on exercising, 20 minutes on cardio or whatever, for like every single day, or you do the things that you focus on your homework, you focus on studying, you focus on pulling all-nighters for your job, you focus on advancing your career path, and then you focus on your new dental issues, you focus on your new heart issues, you focus on your new health issues. So it's like, if you focus your time on these kind of more preventative things, and then spending a certain amount of time on studying over time, rather than maybe cramming for whatever is coming up and is urgent, by setting aside these things that seem urgent, then you will never have. Basically, the idea is that you lower the You know what? Actually, I'm gonna use my card game example instead. I'm gonna use my card games. Think of it this way. Actually, so in my article that I wrote like 3 years ago, I had an example, which is to play your cards that take the longest time to get value first. And the example is, let's say they have a 4/4 on the board. You have a troll, a 5/5, for 4 mana, or a lightning bolt, deal 4 damage for 4 mana. So you could go, okay, they have a 4/4, I have to kill that, so I'm going to use a lightning bolt. Or you could go, well, I'm going to let that sit for a bit, do something more important that's going to give me more value over time because I have this amount of time. I'm not backed up yet in terms of things that I have to solve, and this is something I can play because I won't have time to play this later if I'm always focused on removing their units, right? Because my troll is going to take a turn to play. It can't do anything right away. and then it's going to take a turn to trade, and then a second turn to attack or trade. So it takes this turn, next turn, and the turn after that, so 2 turns, or 3, depending on how you look at it, to actually be more valuable than the lightning bolt. But let's say, for example, you play a troll, and then they play another mammoth and hit you in the face for 4. You trade it with the mammoth, and then you lightning bolt the other one. Now you have a 5/1. You took 4 damage, and it's their turn. Or you play the lightning bolt, they play the mammoth, and then you play the troll. And now you have a 5/5 versus a 4/4. 2 turns passed. You haven't made progress, right? Because now it's back to their turn again, and they still have a unit. So the idea, and here's the most important thing. Because if you follow this idea, this pattern is going to accumulate. You're not going to be able to match your removal with the units they play. That's why you need to have units first, right? So you can take the trays and then use the removal because it's instant to make the urgent plays. One day your health is going to go down. They're still going to have units on the board, and you won't have units and the thing is, half of your hand is going to be useless because half of your hand is slow, half of your hand is fast. And the slow cards, because you didn't prioritize playing them when you had the time, now they're ineffective. They're too slow. You don't have time for them. And let's say you're at like 4 HP now. Eventually you reach a point where you're at 4 HP. Now you physically cannot do anything except play your fast options. Only your fast options are effective, and here's the thing: your fast options are not as powerful. They don't give you as much value over time. You lose out on half of your options. Whereas if you play your slow options first, you can still on the next turn you can still play slow or fast options. So you're gonna lose your ability to play your slow options. You are losing half of your resources and options and responses to situations. So you have less freedom. You have basically no freedom. You're hoping that your opponent has basically weak plays that you can handle. You hope that you have to hope that you can. What they do is barely manageable, and that your limited fast resources is going to eke you out. And every single turn, you're top decking with the hopes that you get enough to live a little longer. So point is, put first things first and protect yourself from urgencies. Okay, so here it is. How will you find the courage to keep your team focused on what is most important, including saying no to some of your best ideas? You only have so much mana, and you only have so many cards. You can have a lot of possible plays you have in your mind, but you have to focus on the one that is most effective. If you only have so much manpower, you only have so many hours of work per person, and if you've got the idea to, start a new cell phone app for your team, that it might be a great app, but is it better than to dedicate yourself on whatever it is you're already doing? If it is, then sure, that's better. But you have to actually understand that it has to be the best use of your resources. It's not sufficient to be a good idea. It has to be the most efficient use of your resources, because resources are limited. How often are people praised for putting out fires versus preventing them? Okay, if you think of reward systems, you don't really think, like, if you don't have a heart attack today, you don't go me for taking care of my heart. It's when your heart hurts and you manage to get through, you're like, okay, I managed, like, you go to the hospital, whatever, they give you this, and you're like, okay, I managed to put out the fire. And then, because prevention isn't actually very visible, it's very long term, it's prophylactic, it doesn't feel as special. You don't tell. For example, let's say chess. When you look at a high-level chess game, it's not exciting because what happens is that the exciting plays are the grandmasters see, like, if I make this move, my opponent's gonna make this exciting line, so they prevent it. They don't make that move. They don't. The situation for the exciting plays most of the time are prevented because the grandmasters already see it coming, so they don't go that line unless it's exciting, unclear, and they don't know what's happening. So it's basically it's equal but exciting because there's more possibilities. But in terms of like tactics, like attacks, like a checkmate in 7, or this completely winning position, those are pretty rare because they prevent it. So that's why most high-level chess games are very boring. Okay. Recognize that you may be the source of many of these urgencies. So for example, as a leader, if you don't address these things, if you say, I've got this great idea, I'm going to set 10 people for the next 2 months to do that. I've got this great idea, and so on. So it's like, if you see in this project, I can't deal with it. I can't handle it. It's like, and you're all like at the start of your day, you've got like 100 emails, you've got bad news coming from here, you've got bad news coming from there, and you're just running around and you're stressed out and you're like, why can't my people just handle it? It's like, maybe if you had your people focused, then that wouldn't happen, or whatever other reason that you have all of these urgencies. Another example, I'll use Alex Hormozzi's for this one, which is he said he had like 7 different businesses and he wasn't making enough. He was not profiting. Like he was constantly stretching himself thin. He was juggling a bunch of different money, and eventually everything broke even. Like maybe sometimes if this business was doing a little worse and this business was doing a little better, eventually he managed to make sales here, make sales there, always making himself super busy, and eventually barely managing to break even. And Layla, his business partner and wife, basically came in and was like, how easy would it be for you to only have one of these businesses and to profit off of that? And he thought to himself, only one of them? That would be a joke. It would be so easy for me to make a profit. And then his immediate thought after that was, Alex, you are so fucking stupid. Because he would have better results, and it would be way easier. It would be less stressful, it would take less work, and at the end of the day, the results would be better, he would have more time, and everything would have been fine. He wouldn't have been scrambling. Okay.